Good morning. It's time, so let's get started. I'd like to call this session of the Public Service Commission to order. Secretary Burgess, are there any changes to the final agenda?
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. There are no changes to this morning's agenda.
Okay, then I will proceed to the items. We have one item on the regular agenda, and it is an informational no vote taken item. Item 301, case 18E0254, which is the matter of the 2018 summer electric system preparations presented by Vijay Paran, Utility Supervisor, Bulk Electric Systems, and Paul Darmetko, Utility Engineering Specialist. Mike Warden, Director of Office Electric, Gas, and Water, will provide a brief introduction. Mike, please begin.
Good morning, Chair Rhodes and Commissioners. Item 301 is largely focused on power supply issues and pricing that goes along with that. And the item is going to be presented by Vijay and Paul is really a good news item for this summer. We have a very good outlook going on, and I won't take away from their thunder and go into that, but I think we'd be remiss without talking about some of the current events that are going on. I want to give you a short update on the current storm recovery effort, and then just talk about some of the things we're doing in response to that. Currently, there are about 92,000 customers without power in New York State. It's mostly in the lower Hudson Valley, and as I'm sure you're all keenly aware of, that's the area that was affected by the Riley-Quinn storms back in early March. The affected counties in particular are Dutchess, Orange, Putnam, Sullivan, and Westchester, and these are served by NYSEG, Central Hudson, and Orange and Rockland. So we have about 5,550 FTEs of line, tree, and service crews that are providing support to the area. That includes on the order of 1,250 out-of-state, out-of-region crews, out-of-New York State crews. And it also includes a large contingent of New York crews that have been redeployed from, for example, western New York down into that lower Hudson Valley area. So there's a significant recovery effort going on. We have had, and we do have, a heavy focus on these kind of restorations. There have been quite a number of these storms since we were first hit by Riley and Quinn. I think this is the fourth or fifth one that have caused significant power outages, and it seems to be coming, as Governor Cuomo has noted, a regular event. So we are working on making improvements to the response process. As you know, we initiated an investigation into the outages associated with Riley-Quinn. That's ongoing, so I can't really get into any of the details of that, but I will tell you that we're trying to incorporate lessons learned as we go along, that we see things that should be improved on a current events type basis. An example of that is we've been working with our partners at State OEM to improve the process for getting crews across the border from Canada. In this event, just like in the March event, that's been an area of significant response. There are also both NYPA and National Grid have been providing transmission crews to help with this event, more so than they have in the past, and so that's been another area where we've made some substantial improvements. Hurricane season starts June 1st, so as you know, the last session, again, going backwards, you approved the utility plans that were in place for the summer, but we don't plan on standing pat with those plans. We plan on making improvements to the plans as we go along through the summer, with the goal of having some significant improvements in place prior to the latter part of the summer and the fall period, when the most significant risk of a hurricane is before us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vijay to give an update on the summer preparedness on the bulk system.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, Chair Rhodes and Commissioners. Today, I'll brief you on the state's transmission and distribution system preparedness. If we could turn to the next slide, which will be slide 3 of this presentation, please. Okay. Based upon staff's review and the assessment of utility data, meeting with the individual utilities and the New York ISO, staff finds that the state electric system, both the transmission and distribution systems, are prepared to reliably meet New York consumers' expected summer electric demands. Our review found that the utilities will complete all major plant reinforcements, inspections, and repairs prior to the start of the summer season, and they have adequate spare equipment on hand to meet unforeseen circumstances. Next slide, please. This chart shows the historical actuals and forecast statewide peak demands as projected by the New York ISO. What's interesting to note is how the forecast peak demands have changed over time. As you can see, the current forecast, or the black line, is significantly lower than the 2015 forecast, or the green line, and also below the previous 2 years' forecast, shown in purple and blue. The New York ISO attributes the reduced peak demands primarily to the positive effects of the state's energy programs and to underlying forecast econometric growth rates. If we compare the forecast made in 2015, again the green line, for 2025 with the current forecast, which is the black, for the same year, the current forecast is about 3,000 megawatts less. That's a rather significant drop, or the equivalent of several large power plants. To give a feel for what that means in terms of residential customers served, the energy associated with 3,000 megawatts is enough to supply approximately 2.5 million average-sized residential homes. Next slide, please. This chart shows the forecast impacts of the contribution of energy efficiency and distributed generation towards reducing peak demands. The blue bars represent the forecast energy efficiency impacts, and the red bars represent the impacts of distributed generation. By year 2028, the combined effects of energy efficiency and distributed generation is expected to quadruple to over 3,500 megawatts from the current forecast for 2018 of about 800 megawatts. Next slide, please. This table shows the available installed capacity for 2018. The installed capacity comprises in-state generation capacity, special case resources, and net firm imports from neighboring ISOs. In total, the New York ISO expects to have about 42,169 megawatts available to serve the load in 2018. Next slide, please. This table shows a forecast statewide peak demand of 32,904 megawatts for the summer of 2018, which is slightly down from last year's forecast of about 33,100 megawatts. To reliably meet this peak demand for 2018, the New York State Reliability Council has determined that a minimum installed reserve requirement of capacity of 18.2% over the forecast peak demand is required. This 18.2% installed reserve requirement results in a 5,989 megawatts minimum requirement above the forecast peak demand, for a total installed capacity requirement of 38,893 megawatts. As mentioned previously, the total available capacity for 2018 is 42,169 megawatts, or 3,276 megawatts above the minimum required. So this means that the actual installed reserves are about 28% above forecast peak, providing further cushion to serve peak load beyond the 18.2% required by the New York State Reliability Council. Next slide, please. As you're aware, Con Edison has quite a complicated distribution system, comprising many individual networks that from time to time can experience various issues that require local solution to provide load relief or demand reductions. To provide that, Con Edison has several demand response programs that is, has paid customer to provide load reduction if needed. These programs are the Distribution Load Relief Program, also known as the DLRP, the Commercial System Relief Program, known as the CSRP, and the Direct Load Control Program, known as the DLC. The table indicates that there are several hundred megawatts of capability available to Con Edison. The other utilities also have load relief measures they can turn to should they be needed. That completes my presentation. I'll turn it over to Paul for the remainder of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, VJ. Good morning, Chairman Rhodes. Good morning, Commissioners. In this portion of the presentation, I'll be providing you with a summary of how the utilities have performed at reducing the electric supply price volatility for their full-service residential customers. I'll provide you with an overview of the utilities' residential electric supply portfolio composition for this summer, compare this summer's forecast electric market prices to last summer's forecasts and actual prices, and finally, I'll provide you with a summary of the state's historic electric supply costs from 2006 through last year. This graph shows the results of the utility's electric supply price volatility mitigation efforts since December of 2008. It compares the average New York ISO market price volatility, the red line, with the utility's residential electric supply portfolios, the blue line. Or more simply stated, the lines show what the volatility of the utility's portfolios would have been had they only purchased from the market versus what it actually is because they engage in hedges. Each point on the line represents the volatility over a 12-month period as measured by the coefficient of variation. As you can see from the chart, the utilities have continued to do a good job at reducing the portfolio price volatility compared to market. The highest point on the chart represents the volatility that was experienced as a result of the polar vortex in the winter of 2014. The following run-up and then subsequent drop is a result of a combination of electric market prices steadily falling and a price spike that occurred in February of 2015. This price spike was nowhere near as high as the prior winter, but it did cause the volatility to rise. This past winter, New York State experienced high electric market prices, again driven by colder than normal weather, which shows up at the end of the graph. But as you can see, the statewide portfolio continues to perform very well. This chart shows the elements of the composite residential electric supply portfolio for this summer. As shown, about 66% of the portfolio consists of fixed price contracts. Of those fixed price contracts, the majority of them are financial in nature. The fixed portion of the portfolio also includes newer physical contracts, older legacy contracts, and a small amount of the utility's own generation for which they have fixed fuel costs, as well as NYPA contracts. The balance of the portfolio is predominantly made up of market purchases, followed by relatively small amounts of utilities' own generation with variable fuel costs, and index contracts that are primarily indexed to natural gas. This chart shows this summer's expected average energy market prices based on NYMEX futures and how they compare to last summer's futures and actuals for New York City, Hudson Valley, and Western New York, or New York ISO zones J, G, and A respectively. Last summer's expected energy market prices that we reported to you last May are in green. Last summer's actual market prices are in blue, and this summer's expected market prices are in red. Last summer, energy prices across the state ended up being much lower than what was expected going into the summer, mainly driven by very mild summer compared to the normal, as well as low gas prices. This summer's energy prices are expected to be higher than last year's actuals, but between 9 and 12% lower than the 5-year average, depending on the zone. This slide shows last summer's New York ISO strip auction capacity prices and what this summer's strip auction capacity prices are. As you can see, the strip auction capacity prices are down from last summer across the state due to a variety of factors, including lower load forecasts. New York City locational capacity requirement this year is also lower, which also contributes to its price decline. This last slide really just provides a bit of context and some history on supply costs in New York State. The energy ancillary service and capacity cost information that's contained in this chart was computed by staff and shows what the statewide supply costs would have been had all energy, ancillary service, and capacity costs priced at market. We've also added gas price information from the Energy Information Administration to show the relationship between electric energy costs and natural gas prices. As you can see, there's a pretty high correlation between natural gas prices and energy costs, and that's because in most hours throughout the year, gas plants are setting the price of energy. The jump in energy and ancillary service costs from 2013 to 2014 is mainly due to the polar vortex and very high gas prices during that winter. In 2015, 16, and 17, the energy and ancillary service costs dropped due to mainly lower gas prices and overall more mild weather. The biggest takeaway, I think, though, from this slide is that electric supply costs are at really all-time lows and are expected to remain at very low levels this summer, which is good news for consumers. So, to conclude, overall, at this point going into the summer, it's expected that supply costs will be slightly higher than last summer, but if the market does experience unexpected price swings, the full-service mass market customers will be protected from the utility or from those price swings because of the utilities hedging. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, VJ. I hear this as an outlook that is good news for New Yorkers, giving us comfort that we can confidently expect adequate supply and reasonable costs. As Mike mentioned, we also know and are constantly reminded and currently reminded that weather can be a wild card. We will have storms, and some of them will have impacts, even severe impacts, which is why preparedness is so critical. Preparedness in terms of our ability to respond when events happen, and Mike talked a little bit about that. And then with this item, preparedness in terms of adequacy of supply and resources. This is a good report. Thank you very much. Are there comments or questions from any of my fellow commissioners?
Just a brief comment. Good news and good work by staff.
I concur. Thank you very much. The one question or the one comment I have is looking at as we go towards the summer and the demand response programs. We do have a lot of experience with Con Ed's demand response programs. There is a new program in that area with the NYPA program, and the load program in the NYCHA building. So that is something that we should keep an eye on, just in terms of looking at the success and sort of the impact on the load in that territory, but also the demand response programs in other areas and how that affects the summer issues, so that we can make some predictions for future load. And as we're looking at DER penetration, what that means, and how we may need to make modifications. So it's just something that I think is important. And looking at the different pilots and rev demos that are focused on that, and what some of the challenges and opportunities are, and lessons learning that are coming out of that, that will help us with our policy initiatives that we can take heed from and learn from. So thank you.
Just a very quick thank you for all the hard work that on a day-to-day basis goes into everything that the department does here. This is a good report. It provides some optimism. Looking forward to reasonable costs and healthy supply. So I guess we can hope for all the best, and maybe quote from another state division of lottery, hey, you never know, but let's go forward. Thank you for your work.
And in the spirit of thanking folks for their hard work, can I just take a moment to thank the people about 100 miles south of us, the linemen and the tree crews that are out there 17 hours a day bringing service back to New Yorkers. We will now move to the consent agenda. Do any of my fellow commissioners wish to comment on or recuse from voting on any items on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, yes, I would like to recuse myself from voting on item 563, case 18, CO242, Green Light Networks.
Thank you, Commissioner Lisi. Commissioner Berman?
Thank you. On items 261 and 262, I will be concurring. These are orders to show cause for UPP violations. The overarching issue here is with regard to failure to file required documentation as required under the UBP, which outlines maintaining ESCO eligibility. It appears to me, based on looking at the items, that the companies may no longer be in service in New York and may not have customers, and it's important for us to identify that if they are no longer operating in New York. So these items are important for us. Notices of apparent failure to provide that documentation. So with that, I will concur. The other item is item 264, which is the confirming order that the chairman did on the ESCO interlocutory appeal denial. After the confirming order, there were recent filings in the ESCO case, and after consulting with our counsel about those recent filings, the question of whether the one commissioner order denying the delay, the reply brief deadline should be confirmed, and looking at the issues. The filings do not appear to affect the specific question, and the one commissioner order was really limited solely to addressing the reply brief deadline, and it did not address the broader process issue discussed in the recent filings. So to the extent that the one commissioner order is limited in the reply brief deadline issue, and the reply briefs have been filed, as I look at it, it really closes the loop procedurally, and it really, since the reply briefs have been filed, it makes it somewhat moot in the confirming aspect of it, and therefore I will concur, solely limited to that and not to the broader procedural issues, which may have a difference of opinion on. So for that, I will concur.
Thank you very much. With that, we will proceed to voting. My vote is in favor of the recommendations on the consent agenda. Commissioner Sayre, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Berman, how do you vote?
I vote yes, except to the extent that I acknowledge my concurrence on the other three items.
Thank you. Commissioner Alisi, how do you vote? Yes, with one exception. The items are approved and the recommendations are adopted. Secretary Burgess, is there anything further to come before us today?
Nothing further for today. The next commission meeting is June 14th in Albany.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned.